President, please be seated. The court is now back in session, and the chamber now hands the floor to the lead co-lawyers for civil parties, followed by the co-prosecutors. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon to all of you. Good afternoon, witness. My name is Marie Guiraud. I am a civil party lawyer, and I have a few brief questions to put to you for purposes of clarification following the testimony that you have been giving to the chamber since the start of the day. The first question relates to your stay in China. You said this morning and this afternoon again that you traveled to China in 1976, but you never told us exactly when, which month it was. So can you tell the chamber when exactly you went to China to undergo this training you spoke about earlier?
It happened a long time ago, and I cannot recall it clearly. I cannot recall the month. However, it happened in early 1976.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you. In your written record of interview, which we have been speaking about at length since the start of the day, at answer 12, you said you went to China in January 1976. Is that what you remember today? January 1976?
Yes, I think it is around that month.
Vous souvenez-vous quand
Do you remember when you returned from China?
I cannot recall the exact period. However, I returned in a rainy season, and that is after the Chum Water Festival that year.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you. In the same record, you said at answer 13 that you returned in November 1977. Does this somehow jog your memory?
Mr. President?
Probably that was the time that I returned.
Thank you. I seek some guidance in relation to your decision as to which documents can be used with this witness. I have read your decision, and I understood that both civil party lawyers and the prosecution are prohibited from using the statement of this witness. So, of course, we have been using it extensively, but is your ruling such that, in fact, both civil party lawyers and the prosecution cannot refer to his statement?
Une clarification est effectivement.
The clarification was necessary, Mr. President, because that's not at all how I understood your decision. It seems to me that we are fully entitled to use that statement and to confront the witness with what he has said.
Et dans le document F.
And in F26, to which I refer now, it doesn't say that the civil parties and the prosecution are to be treated differently to the defence in the use of documents. So I would ask you to respect the letter of your decision F26 and allow me thus to ask my question, which has already been answered, I admit, by the witness, but that's another matter.
Maybe I'm not completely correct as to the civil party lawyers, but I'm definitely sure about the decision of the chamber to prohibit the prosecution from using this document. Is that correct?
J'attends votre...
I await your instructions to know whether I can proceed or not. From what I understood from F26, we are entitled to use this document. Let me sit down and wait until you have a decision.
Just to help move things along, I believe the document probably is listed as excluded from the use of the co-prosecutors because the ERNs were not given until the next day, but that did not apply to the civil party co-lawyers, and I'll say nothing else on that right now.
May I please ask the defense, you are familiar with this record, with the document to which the civil party is referring?
Yes, we use it extensively, and I in itself don't have a problem with the civil parties using the document, although I think they didn't put it on their list, but I don't have a problem if they use it. However, you specifically prohibited the prosecution from using it, and I think the Supreme Court chamber should stick to that decision.
And Mr. Verken? Sir, are you, is the defense of Kyo Sam-Fan familiar with this record?
Oui, je connais le document.
Yes, I am familiar with it, yes.
Prosecution using it, notwithstanding our prior decision on the subject.
Bien sûr, Madame le juge.
Madam, I believe that the prosecution should not use it in accordance with the decision that you took.
President, Defense Counsel, in the document in Khmer is F2/411. However, on the screen that I have in front of me, it's E319/127. Could you please confirm whether these two IDs refer to the same document?
Yes, the document that I've been referring to all morning is now being used by the civil party lawyers, which, again, we don't have a problem with, although it wasn't on their list. But we do have a problem with the prosecution using it because you explicitly prohibit it. If they are now allowed to use it, then the question rises, what was the point of the decision?
Indeed, Mr. Copper, there was because of the pressure of the time, we had like two objectives in mind: to allow prior statements and yet disallow documents that were too long, to familiarize with them, to enable the proper familiarization of all the participants to the hearing. Considering, however, we mainly had you in mind, and prevent the defense being inconvenienced by documents that were suddenly pulled out of the to the light. So let us ask the prosecution if they find this record useful, or whether all the parts covered by the record, were covered, that they are interested in have been covered by the record. And if you still find it useful, we will quickly deliberate whether to rescind our decision with this, in this area.
We don't need it, and we'd ask to just move on. Thank you.
President, you may now proceed.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Let me return to my question on the assumption that, if need be, I am authorized to cite another extract from the witness interview record, which the defense has abundantly referred to since the beginning of proceedings today. So I'd like to put my last question to the witness, so that this should go into the record. Sir, you said just now that your memories were rather blurred about the date of your return from China, and then I pointed out response 13 in the record where you refer to November 1977, and now I'm asking you to react to that date and to see if it does indeed tally with what you remember.
Witness, it is about rights.
Lorsque vous étiez
When you were in China, were you kept abreast with what was going on in the Northwest Zone?
Answer, no. And there was no information broadcasted over the radio about that.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you. Earlier on today, you made several references to a conference that Rosnim attended in Phnom Penh, and you went along with him as a driver, I believe. I just wanted to ask you a couple of follow-up conferences to be sure that we are talking about the same conference. Can you tell the court how long the conference lasted? Can you remember? Was it one day or a lot more? What can you tell us about that?
The conference lasted for many days. Perhaps it lasted for almost 1 month or a lot more than 1 month. Because of time passing by, I could not recall it.
Où cette conférence se déroulait-elle?
Can you remember where the conference took place in Phnom Penh?
Answer, I did not know where it was held. After I drove him and arrived in front of the Royal Palace, and after I had a meal together with them at Borei Keila, I went back to my place.
Monsieur le Président.
If I may, Mr. President, I'd like to mention 2 places that are quoted in a paragraph of the judgment that has been appealed by Kyosampan Nyonchea, and I want to ask if these 2 names mean something to our witness. The Silver Pagoda, where a meeting took place in May 1975, and the Olympic Stadium. Now, these 2 places, Mr. Witness, do they mean something to you? Do they ring a bell here?
Answer, I do not know the place where the conference was held. As I said, so there was someone in Phnom Penh in charge of sending him or driving him to the conference venue.
Lorsque vous avez...
And when you said just now that the conference lasted about a month, can you tell us if Rosnim stayed a month in Phnom Penh for the duration of the conference? Do you know the answer to that?
Answer. Everyone, including Ruhnyam, Taker, Takpait, they were staying in Phnom Penh. Messenger and I changed our shifts, and some of us went back to Badambong to collect rice. So we work on the roster basis until he completed the meeting.
Avant votre...
Before you left for China in January 1975, did you ever take Rosnim to Phnom Penh on other occasions other than this conference you've just told us about?
Answer: no. No. I only drove him to Phnom Penh once.
Et saviez-vous...
And did you know at the time if Rosnim was in the habit of going regularly to Phnom Penh before you went off to China in January 1976?
Answer: after he returned to his zone, I did not know whether he visited Phnom Penh regularly later on.
Avant votre...
Before you went to China in January 76, did you ever witness visits from Angkar leaders or from the standing committee members in your zone?
Answer: yes, but I do not know who was who. They were in vehicles, and the window of the vehicles were blackened, and only the windshield and the window at the back could be seen. And there were a security guards with them. I did not know who was who at that time.
And at the time, did anybody say to you who the members of the delegation were?
Answer: no, I did not question them. I did not dare to ask them.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you. Can I draw your attention to a paragraph in the judgment that has been appealed by the two accused? Is paragraph 747 of the judgment, which makes a reference to a visit by the Standing Committee to the Northwest Zone in August 1975. Now, would that date, August 1975, correspond to the one in which you saw those cars with their blacked out windows?
Answer: I do not recall it, but I noticed that some of them were there. I do not recall what month exactly.
Savez-vous ce qui...
Do you know what they did when they were there, what their program of activities was, where they visited, or Did you have any idea of what was going on behind those dark windows?
Answer. I did not know where they were heading to, but what I only knew that they were heading to Tanyam's house at Prampi Pro house, and after they left the house, I did not know where they were going to.
Je vous remercie. Vous avez répondu à une question.
Thank you very much. You answered a question this morning from my colleague Mr. Koppe about Nunchia, and you said that you had heard his name but that you'd never actually met him personally. May I draw to your attention an answer that you gave to the investigators when they came to talk to you in 2013, and in answer 35 you said that Nunchia and Tanim had been friends for a long time and they used to study together in Thailand. What can you tell us about the relations between Nunchia and Tanim in terms of what you knew at the time, Mr. Witness?
Answer. I heard of this from my foster father. He describes the background of Nuon Chia. He told me about Nuon Chia's background.
Quand vous parlez
When you talk about background, what exactly do you mean? Could you give us a few more examples and ideas?
Witness, can you repeat your question? I do not really get it fully.
Bien sûr,
Yes, of course. I was drawing your attention to one of the answers that you gave the investigators when you had an interview, and as written down in the record, you said Nunchia and Tanim had been close friends and they used to study together in Thailand, and says the speaker in French they were ordained as monks as well at the same time. Now I'm asking you if you know any further information about the relationship that Nunchia and Tanim enjoyed at that time.
Answer. I knew from Tanyam, but my foster father, he told me about his relationship with Nuon Chia, as stated in that document.
ma dernière question.
Mr. Witness, this is my last question. At the same place in the record, you say that you spoke to your adoptive father and he said that Nunchia had betrayed us. Can you tell us more about this conversation? Why did your adoptive father say that Nunchia had betrayed you?
Answer. Actually, it was not my foster father said such a thing. I, in fact, told my foster father that perhaps Nuon Chia had betrayed us. That is why the people, cadres in the northwest zones were killed.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no further questions. So, if I may, I will hand over the floor to my colleagues from the Co-Prosecutor's Office.
National Deputy Co-Prosecutor, good afternoon, Mr. President, Your Honor, everyone in and around the courtroom. Good afternoon, Mr. Witness. My name is Song Chong-won. I have a few questions for you, and I have a follow-up question from the international co-lead lawyer. You stated that you told your foster father that perhaps Nguyen Chi had betrayed us. So why did you tell such things to your foster father? Answer: I was thinking that Nguyen Chi was living in Wat Go, Battambang province, and my foster father married a wife in Phnom. My foster father lived in Phnom Srok, but he married a wife in Po. People in my zone, in sector or division, were called into a study session, and they were all arrested. And I told my foster father that if Nguyen Chi did not betray us, cadres from the Northwest Zone were not arrested. This is what I told my foster father. Deputy Co-Prosecutor, thank you. Coming back to 17 April 1975, you stated before the chamber that 10 days after the liberation, perhaps it's shortly before that or a bit long before that, Sna was in charge of radio station, and he announced to others that they should lay down weapon. Rather, it was Vine who was the chief of radio station unit. So what did he make? What kind of announcement did he make at that time, and where was the announcement made? Answer: Tawai was the chief of Sector 2 at that time, and he was a professor in charge of internal intellectuals. This means that he was in charge of the former intellectuals from a long time. Tawai was known widely. That is why he was assigned to make a statement over the radio, so that everyone could recognize and could be persuaded. Co-Prosecutor, what did he say in the radio, on the radio? What objective he wanted at that time? Witness, as far as I can recall, I could not give you all the details. He said that the country had been liberated and the imperialists collapsed. So the late King Norodom Sihanouk would come back to be the head of state. And he also stated that the war was over, so everyone should follow the announcement by the United Front. Co-prosecutor, what kind of people was he? What kind of people did he want the message to reach to? Answer. He was making announcement to everyone, including civilians, civil servants, and all soldiers. Question. After the announcement made by him, who would join with him? And what kind of people sided with him? Answer. Armed forces of Lon Nol in Battambang joined with him at that time. It was called Gong Swai Tran, and members of this unit laid down weapons, and weapons were scattered everywhere on roads. And later on, these weapons were gathered up and placed in Jomka Jail. Question. After they laid down their weapon and joined with him, so what happened to these former Lon Nol soldiers? Answer. I have told the court already. Later on, they were invited to go and welcome the late king. They were transported in trucks or vehicles to welcome the late King Norodom Sihanouk. 10 days later, I realized that these people were all killed. Question. Why did you know that these former Lon Nol soldiers were killed? Answer. I did not know where they were killed, but I could see that these former soldiers were transported in vehicles or trucks near Kampong Tres, the place where I was staying. At first, I felt disappointed with my foster father. I was thinking that I had joined the revolution for so long and I was so committed, why I was not allowed to go and welcome the late king at that time. After communicating messages 2 times, I took rest, and at that time, No told me that these former soldiers had been killed at Tulsdaj. So if I had asked them to go with this former soldier, I would have been killed. Question. You stated that these former soldiers were transported in vehicles passing you at that time. What situation did you observe, and how many of them were there on vehicles, and where were they transported to? Answer. These former soldiers were transported in the CMC trucks with net cover, and they were shouting, "Bravo, the king!" They were shouting, "Bravo, the king!" on the trucks, and they said that they were all going to welcome the late king. The vehicle was passing me on the road to Samrong and Kampong Tres. So I observed that these former soldiers were being transported and they were shouting happily on the vehicles, "Bravo, the late king," and I felt disappointed at that time.
Question. What do you know about the policy to gather up all those former Lunar soldiers? Answer, I don't get your question. Please rephrase it. Question, allow me to rephrase it. Do you know why there existed a policy to gather up those former soldiers and later executed them?
Madam Prosecutor, the witness was asked the question who ordered and why ordered, and answered. The question, the way you are posing it, is suggestive that there was a policy, to which the witness did not confirm such fact. Please rephrase.
National Deputy Co-Prosecutor, Madam Cha, I rephrase my question. And Mr. Witness, do you know why those people were gathered up and tracked out to be sent away and killed? Answer, no, I don't have that knowledge. I don't know at which level of chain of commands the order was issued. Question. I'd like to ask the juror on an issue when your foster father, Runyam, sent you to a pilot course in China, and upon your return, he instructed you again to go to China, to which you refused. And he told you that you should attend the pilot course in order to regain the Cambodian territory, Cambodia Crown territory. And my question to you is the following. What was his idea on the recapturing or retake of the Cambodia Crown territory? Did he mean anything else when he told you so? Answer. I did not fully understand what he said. However, that was what he told me. Maybe what he told me was in an incentive for me to return to China, or whether it was his real intention to recapture Cambodia Crown or Noko Ridge, that is the lands that we had lost in the past. But I refused to return, because my comrades in arms had disappeared. Many of them had disappeared. Question. Now I move on to another issue on the visits by leadership to Battambang province. You responded through the political lawyer for civil parties that the leaders came to Battambang province once every month or once every fortnight. Could you please confirm whether this was a regular occurrence commencing from the 17th April 1975, or at which particular point in time did it start? Answer. It happened after they all returned from the conclusion of the conference held in Phnom Penh. Question. And how many times, if you can recall, they made the visits after the conclusion of the conference? Answer. I cannot recall it clearly. I think it's between 2 to 3 times. Thank you, and Mr. President, I don't have any more questions, and I'd like to give the floor to my international colleague. And thank you, Mr. Witness.
Thank you. Sir, my name is Nicholas Kumjin. Sir, just a couple questions. You had mentioned today messages from the zone to the center. My question is focused on April 1975, that month only. As far as you were aware, how many messages per day were sent from the zone to the center?
When the attack campaign commenced, the message was delivered, at least one message was delivered on a daily basis, and a maximum of 3 messages were sent. For that reason, the 3 of us, that is the messengers, would roster ourselves to take the message. And for example, if a message was to be sent in the morning, one of us would deliver the message, and if another one had to be sent in the evening, then another messenger would be assigned. And we always took turn to deliver the message, as it took us quite a long distance to deliver the messages, and that's what happened during the commencement of the attack operation or campaign.
When you talk about delivering the messages to the center, are you talking about going to a location, or are they sent by telegraph?
I took his message, which was in a sealed envelope, and it had a serial number on it. A number was registered. Then I would take it to office 20, and the office 20 would decode the message and transmitted it. And likewise, if there was a message from the center, it would reach office 20, decode it, and then sealed in an envelope, and my team would deliver the message to him.
So just to be clear, you talked about daily 1 to 3 times a day messages from the zone to the center. How many messages per day in April 1975 were there from the center to the zone?
Mr. President, if I may make an observation on this question, and it might be because of the word use of the word center. Center, not obviously in the sense of an office in Phnom Penh, because Phnom Penh still had to be taken. So maybe the witness is confused, or maybe something went wrong in translation. But there were messages obviously before 17 April 75 between the zone and the center, because the center as such didn't exist. So maybe the prosecution could ask could be more specific on this issue.
Mr. Witness, so we're clear what we're talking about. You seem to understand my question. When I speak of the center, what do you understand? When we say center, what do you understand that to mean?
At that point in time in the northwest zone, they used the word center, and the word center refers to the upper echelon, and it was commonly used since we were in the forest.
Thank you, sir. So my question was, you talked about the amount of messages from the zone to the center. How many messages per day were there from the center to the zone?
I cannot recall it clearly how many messages were sent from the upper echelon or from the center, because sometimes I receive it for the delivery, and sometimes other messengers receive them.
Fine. Do you know if those occurred on a regular basis or not? Can you tell us anything about the frequency of messages from the center to the zone?
At the start of the campaign, I receive a message from the center once every 2 days or 3 days. However, I only speak about myself, and I cannot speak about the other two messengers, how many messages they received per day, or they received from the center at the time.
Thank you. And we appreciate the fact that you limit what you say to things you actually know and have experienced. So, sir, after the Phnom Penh was captured, after the 17th of April 1975, did you ever take messages, carry them to Phnom Penh?
Three months after the 17th April 1975, so I could say it was in July or August that year, the telegraph was actually set up in Rohingyam's office. Rather, it was attached to a vehicle, a military vehicle seized from the former Lon Nol troop, and it was always with him on mobile on that military vehicle.
Okay, I apologize. My question is, did you ever travel to Phnom Penh with messages from Rohingyam? But
Yes, I did. Yes, and I delivered messages to Phnom Penh. I delivered messages, I delivered rice, durian, and other fruits to Phnom Penh.
sir, when you delivered the messages, who did you actually hand them over to?
I delivered the messages to a person by the name of Pong. There was a messenger's office situated opposite the royal palace, and that's where messages were delivered. And actually they use a hand-wound phone, and the messages will be delivered to Pong, and the number would be hand dialed for him. As for the rice again and the fruits again, everything was delivered to Pong.
Did you ever take a group of people with you through Phnom Penh?
No, I never brought any group of people to Phnom Penh. And if a group of people was brought in, it was only during the time that I brought in those senior cadres to attend the conference.
Did you ever transport Kampuchea Krom people?
Please repeat your question. You refer to transporting Kampuchea Krom people from where to where?
Well, just tell me, did you ever transport Kampuchea Krom people through or near Phnom Penh?
I transported Kampuchea Krom people once. Actually, I did not transport them, but I escorted Vietnamese people to return to Vietnam. And it was not a land transportation, it was by river from Salak Takhon in Battambang through Tonle Sap River. And that would lead to Phnom Penh. Then I went to receive a letter from Pong, and we continued our boat journey to Om Somno. And then with the note, a handwritten note from Pong, I handed over the Vietnamese people as well as the Vietnamese boat to the Vietnamese authority there. In fact, when we took or escorted those Vietnamese on their boat, we towed our boat, and when we returned with our towed boat.
Thank you. Sir, you mentioned that you took messages from Rus Nhiem to Pong, and that on this occasion you received a message from Pong that you turned over to the Vietnamese. What was the function, if you know, of Pong? Do you know, can you tell us anything about his job and where he fit in the hierarchy?
I do not know his clear function or position. However, at the time he was known as the office chief.
Thank you very much, Mr. Witness. Mr. Witness, you may not know the function of Pong, but I refer your honors to the judgment, paragraphs 211 through 214, and paragraph 383 regarding the function of Pong. Thank you, sir. Mr. President, I have no further questions.
And then, Mr. President, if you allow me, I would add that Pang was arrested and subsequently executed for treason.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a brief observation through the testimony of the witness. He didn't mention that Pong sent a message to the Vietnamese. However, he made an annotation on the letter so that the witness could take the letter to the Vietnamese authority. President, thank you, everyone. And if the defense counsels and the co-prosecutors and the lead co-lawyers do not have any further question, it is now the bench turn to put the questions to the witness. And Judge Member, you may start first.
Thank you, Mr. President. Witness, I have a few questions concerning two portray. The first question is, did you witness the meeting which took place at Pusa Town Hall, in which former Lone Nor soldiers and senior officers were gathered after liberation?
No, I did not witness that.
So since you didn't witness that, you wouldn't know what type of officials and the ranks that attended.
That is correct. I did not know about that or when that meeting was convened.
Thank you, witness. Thank you, Mr. President.
President, I'd like now to hand the floor to Judge Mongmani Charya. Judge Mongmani Charya, thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Witness, my questions are about your personal experience. You were a messenger and subsequently you became a deputy chief of the zone general staff. In both capacities, that is before and after 1975, did you ever attend any study session or training sessions organized by the Democratic Cambodia regime? Answer: no, I did not. However, I heard something about the contents of the meetings. For example, when the zone cadres were sent for study sessions, or when the sector cadres were attending the study sessions at the zone. Question. You said you heard about some contents of the study session. Did you hear any particular instructors who actually gave instructions through those trainees? Witness, I don't understand your question, Your Honor. Question. You said you heard some contents, but you did not hear it. Did you hear about the dissemination of policies? Or what did you hear? Answer. I heard and I knew about dissemination of policies because it was disseminated by him, who I was always with him as a bodyguard, and some study sessions lasted between 2 to 3 days. or the shortest one would last 1 day, and the sole instructor would be Ruhnyam. As for the true study sessions, or Tucker would be the instructor, and usually these two were the main instructors. The Pet was not capable of training those cadres. Question: you were with them extensively, and you might have known something for the period either prior to or after 1975. Can you tell the chamber how the order or the instructions from the upper echelons were implemented? Answer: before 17 April 1975, their trainings focus on popular democratic revolution, and that was and the main content of the sessions were to make the popular democratic revolution and to defend the country. And after the conclusion of the conference held in Phnom Penh, the trainings were given to cadres at the sector level. The Nyam engaged in a one-day training, where Tucker engaged in the two-day training course. And actually I took them through these two training locations. By that time, the tone of the session changed from the popular democratic revolution to the socialist revolution. That's what I can recall. And they also spoke about the establishment of cooperatives. Actually, by that time, I did not know what cooperatives were, though I remember the gist of their training programs. And in general, on the issue of documentation, I do not know much about whether those cadres would go to the bases and disseminate the experience they learned through the study sessions. Question: were you aware at the time of the change of command, for example, the level of authorities at various levels? Answer: no, I was not aware of the authority at various levels. My understanding was that if you were in charge of food supply or logistics, you would deal with the food supply or logistics issues alone. And if you were to deal with the forces, then you were solely in charge in dealing with that. There were two organizational structures. One was the secretary, or in the military, it would be the commissioner or the commander. And the commissioner would be in charge of the management of the organization, and the commander would be in charge of the troops itself. And the same structure applies to the zone level. There will be a zone party secretary, his deputy, and the zone commander. Question: were you aware of the policy dissemination regarding the arrest of people? For example, those who made mistake or who violated the policies of the party. Or did you hear them talking about policy towards the former Lone soldiers after the 17 April 1975 liberation? answer. To that point, I did not have a great understanding. I did not know much about why people were evacuated or why those people were gathered up to receive the king. Nor the rest of people who were their own cadres. However, later on, when I put my concerns to questions and to NAM, I was told those people were advised to attend study sessions in Phnom Penh. However, they turned out to be. It turned out that they were arrested. President, let me rest for 1 minute for the changing of DVD.
President, you may now resume your line of questioning, Judge Momani Jariya. In relation to one more fact which you have stated, you said you witnessed former Lone soldiers had been transported to be killed. I have a question in relation to this fact. After the 17th April 1975, were the former Lone soldiers gathered up in one place, and after that they were tracked out to be killed? Witness, I have no idea. I witnessed these former Lone soldiers were being transported in vehicles on the road from Kampong Preah to Mong and vice versa. I did not know where they were taken to, and I also did not know how these former soldiers were gathered up. Question. Were there only former Lone soldiers with ranks, or were there family members of these former Lone soldiers as well in the vehicles? Answer. There were only soldiers. Question. A while ago, you mentioned a person by the name No, who told you that these former Lone soldiers had been killed. Who was No, and how was he related to you, and why did he know this count precisely? Answer. No was the personal bodyguard of Tanyam. Who, Nam, Thum, No, 4 of them were personal bodyguards of Tanyam. Whom was in charge of preparing a toothbrush and clothes for Tanyam. Nam was tasked with gathering food and vegetable. No was in charge of cooking with whom. They were in different duties, although they were bodyguards. Question: did you ask No why he learned that information? Whether he learned from Runyam, or did he know that these former soldiers were being transported by himself? Answer: I have no idea where he learned this information from. I frequently made a complaint to him that I was committed, and I was committed so much in the revolution, why I was not allowed to go and welcome the late king. And in reply he said, where did you want to go? These former Lono soldiers were taken away and killed, in fact. Judge Momni Jaya, thank you very much, Mr. Witness. Thank you, Mr. President. You may now have the floor, Judge Som Serayput. Judge Som Serayput. Good afternoon, Mr. Witness. I would like to ask about your personal experience. You stated that you were able to convince people in that time, in that period. It was said that land was measured for people to walk in and live in. And how could you convince people to join you? During the Pol Pot time, there was no radio used to broadcast and convince people. So how could you be able to convince people to join you more and more? Answer: I did not convince them to join me, including the mobile units. At the outset, I told them that I wanted to be a thief, stealing rice and other food supplies. And later on, it became very popular that there were soldiers in the forest led by me, and everyone started to join one after another. And they started to escape into the forest, 500 or more, or 1,000 per day. They joined me in the forest. I did not make any effort to convince them. They initiated the idea by themselves and joined me. Judge Som Serayput, I am still doubtful that you did not convince them and they joined you in the large number. So were these people living in the area where you were in control of? Answer, Your Honor. First, after my attack, it became very popular, and the place where I attacked was close to Battambong, Le, it was called at that time. And it was close to Kokralo district, Mong district. So the area where people were living was close to the area where I launched my attack. I had my own supplies, that is rice, and they joined me one after another. I provided rice to them to eat, and after many mobile units joined me and other soldier from Kokhroka joined me, I could be able to convince the low-ranking officers and the leaders from battalion, from regiments. So I started to indoctrinate them, and I assigned them with different tasks and duties. Later on, I went to different cooperatives and I could be able to meet some district governors. President, Mr. Witness, please give a short response if you can. We prefer to have shorter responses. Judge Somsray would have wanted to know how you convince people to join with you. So please be short because of time. Judge Somsarewood, I have another question for you. I would like you to clarify concerning the timing. I have heard your testimony, and you stated that you could be able to mobilize 7,000 families at that time. Was it the time that coincided with the entry of the Vietnamese troop, or was it before that time? It was before the Vietnamese troop came into the country, that is 7 January. President Judge Mila, you now have the floor.
Thank you. Mr. Witness, you told us that you saw trucks transporting Lon Nol soldiers. Could you tell us how many trucks did you see?
But
Answer. Your Honor, because of long time ago, because of my memory and because it happened a long time ago, the trucks were more than 10 trucks.
Did you see them pass just once, or did they return to pick up more?
but
Answer. I witnessed truck being driven away 2 times during the daytime and nighttime. I witnessed the trucks being driven away during the daytime, and then another time was when the skies was going to dark. I was staying in Tanyam's house, close to the road where the trucks were being driven away, and soldiers on the truck were shouting, "Long live King Norodom Sihanouk."
How many people would there be on each truck? Approximately.
អ Answer: I could not give my estimate. The tracks of which were covered with net tent consisted of 30 to 40 soldiers.
Were they wearing uniforms?
Answer: they were in military gears. Some were with ranks on their shoulders, and all of them were in military uniform with no arms, since weapons had been thrown away at the place where they were gathered up onto the truck.
I understand. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Just one question, and please excuse, it's slightly repetitive to the question that was already asked by Judge Monicharya, but I didn't get your answer clearly. So help me if I understand correctly. Are you aware or not of any policy whatsoever of what to do with Lon Nol soldiers? Whether to take care of them or whether to do anything else with them, including kill them? Any policy, general statement of what to do with Lon Nol soldiers that would come from the conferences or from personal announcements or that you heard of in the course of your duties?
Answer: I have heard of Khmer Rouge policy, but I do not understand the policy fully. The policy was to smash all former imperialists and was to smash the former feudalists.
And how did you hear of this policy or policies?
Answer: in the meeting. I was close to the meeting's place.
Who told you of them?
Answer: no one told me. I overheard the policy, and Tucker was the one who spoke about the policies in the meeting. The meeting was held in Chrap Krasang, Battambang.
When?
Answer: it was nearly 1 month after the liberation, before he came to attend the conference in Phnom Penh.
So after the liberation, but before the conference in Phnom Penh. Was it before or after you saw the trucks?
Answer: after I saw the trucks transporting people. It was after that time.
And who was in attendance at this meeting? Anyone from the center? Anyone from the zone?
បាទអ្នកចូលប្រជុំហ្នឹងគឺ
Answer. Those who were present in the meeting consisted of Tanyam, who presided over the meeting, Taker, and as for the speakers, there were Tapait, Tasai, Tavany, Tatom, Tahung, Tasui, and Tasu, chief of sectors.
Was the policy presented as the policy of Rohim or someone else's?
ថាថ្នាក់លើ
It was the policy from the upper echelon. The policies ordered by upper echelon.
So all that you said about the meeting, you witnessed yourself and heard yourself. Is that correct? Or you heard it from other people?
បាទនេះគឺខ្ញុំស្ដាប់
Answer. I overheard the policy. I was not in the meeting itself. The meeting was held in a two-story wooden house. The meeting was taking place on the first floor, and I was down on the ground floor. I could overhear the statement about policies.
Mm-hmm. And by the upper echelon, whom did you understand?
Answer. If it was because it was discussed by the people at the zone level, so upper echelon here refers to those who were in the center.
Was there any particular name mentioned?
Answer. No, only the word upper echelon was referred to.
By Rohim.
This word was mentioned by Taker.
And go on, please.
Answer. Taker was the speaker, while Tanyam was in present together with other categories.
And was your impression that those in the meeting were in agreement with this policy or not?
Answer. 2 days after the meeting, From what I heard, they said that they would advocate with the people in the center not to, they would complain to the center that people should be allowed to return back to their homes. Later on, the conference was taking place.
Which conference?
Answer: the conference that I accompanied him to.
So before people were expressing, if I please correct me if I understood you wrong, that before this conference, some people expressed opinions or sentiments that the Lon Nol soldiers should be allowed to go back to society. Is that correct? But then the policy was announced at the conference. Did I get it right, sir?
Answer: the purpose of zone and sector leaders was to spare lives of the former soldier, and they wanted people to go back and live in their respective houses. This was the sole intention of sectors and zone chief, and they also wanted the monies to be in circulation as well.
Thank you, sir. Oh, sorry, one more. Have you ever heard about withdrawal from this policy? Was there any order that would rescind this policy subsequent to this meeting?
Answer: I have never heard of it.
Thank you.
President, you may now proceed, Judge Yanarun. Judge Yanarun, thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Witness, I would like to ask you some questions. Please give a short response if you can, since my questions are also short as well. Without further ado, it is now 5 o'clock. I would like to know about Office 560. What is it? Answer: Office 560 changed its names from Office 20, from what I know. Question: who was in charge of this office? Answer: it was under the zone authority. Question: what about Office H70? What is it? Answer: Office H70 was under responsibility of Pong. Question, and who was in charge of that office 870? Answer, I do not really know, but what I know is that Pong was the chief of that office, and that office was located in Phnom Penh. Question, from the period of 1975 to 1976, you were a messenger. Did you ever carry messages from office 860 to 870 often?
Answer, no, I never delivered any messages from office 560. I only delivered messages from Ruhnyim, and I took the messages personally from Ruhnyim to Pong. Question, did you hand deliver the messages from Ruhnyim to Pong in person at office 870? Answer, yes, I came to Phnom Penh to the office opposite the Royal Palace, and then I telephoned Pong to come to receive the messages. Question, on average, how many messages do you deliver to him per month? Answer, after the office 20 were separated into other offices, I delivered the messages 3 times to him. Question, do you recall the dates that you took a group of soldiers into the forest? Answer, it happened in 1978, and it was between mid to end to late 1978, and I cannot recall the exact month or the day. However, I recall that the rice in the field was about to become ripe. It was fully grown. Question, by that time was Ruhnyim still zone chief? Answer, after I had left, Ruhnyim was still zone chief. Question, did Ruhnyim ever assign a group of soldiers to go and terminate your group? Answer, no, he did not. And I did not know whether he was aware of the existence of my group. And as I said earlier, later on he came to request for some forces from me, and I decided to give him. Question, you said that later on you told Ruhnyim about your group, about the troop that you brought along into the forest, and what was his reaction? Answer, no, I did not tell him that I took a group of soldiers into the forest to rebel, but I told him that we would be like bandits because we didn't want to be arrested, and if he wanted to kill me, go ahead. I could even give him a gun to shoot me. And if he didn't decide to kill me by then there was no need for him to chase after me, after I took those troops with me to be bandits. That's what I told him. Thank you. I don't have any more questions.
Will you allow me, please, to ask one final question to the witness?
បាទសូមអញ្ជើញ
Mr. Witness, do you know why Runim ordered the killing of Lon Nol soldiers so quickly after the liberation of Pursat and Battambang? Why not wait with killing them like Saupim did in the East Zone? He simply arrested these people and then released them. Why was it necessary to kill them so quickly?
I did not know the reason.
Thank you, Mr. President.
សូម
President Judge Yasinge, you have the floor.
Witness, since we have gone beyond 5 o'clock, I do not wish to detain you any longer. I have two short questions for you. You said that you detailed 300 bodyguards for Rus names protection. Considering that he was a zonal secretary, why did he need your help, and did he not have troops at his disposal?
But
By that time, the soldiers under his command had all been arrested.
Okay, thank you. Just one other question. You asked him to join you in the forest where you had 4,000 troops at your command. However, he did not. Even considering the fact that his arrest was impending, he did not join you. Can you just give an explanation why he did not join you in the forest where you were there with about 4,000 troops under your command?
The troops that I brought along, actually he was not aware of the number. I don't know whether he did not believe me at the time or whether he already made up his mind not to join me.
But you requested him to join you, didn't you?
Before I handed him 300 of my men, I requested him to come along and to be our leader to join our resistance. But he decided not to go, and he only sought 300 men from me as for his protection.
He was arrested soon after you invited him to join you, is that right?
but
It took place about 10 days after, or it could be between 10 days to a fortnight.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you very much, sir.
President, if there is no more question, Mr. Witness, the chamber is grateful of your time and patience and for your testimony before the Supreme Court chamber, and you may now be excused from the courtroom. And the chamber would like to notify the defense counsel as well as the co-prosecutors and the lead co-lawyers and other parties that the chamber will hold a next schedule per notification by the Supreme Court chamber, which will be issued in due course. And this segment of the appeal proceedings is now adjourned, and security personnel, you are instructed to take the two accused back to the detention facility, and the appeal proceedings are now adjourned.